على مدار الأشهر الماضية لقاءات
During
جماهيرية
the
عدة
past few
تم
months,
الاستماع فيها
many
مباشرة وعلى أرض
meetings
الواقع
were
في
held
كافة محافظات
in
مصر
different
إلى مطالب
governorates of
المواطنين
Egypt.
من هذا الحوار الوطني. إلى كلمة المهندس
We
حازم
listen
عمر
now to
رئيس
the
حزب
speech by
الشعب
Mohandas
الجمهوري.
Hazem Omar.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate.
السادة الوزراء، السيد المنسق العام، الحضور الكريم،
Ministers, General Coordinator, esteemed presence, I won't repeat anything of who spoke before me.
بشكل عام وأقول
Let me speak generally.
إنه لمن دواعي سرورنا
It is my pleasure to participate in this event which reflects the power of the Egyptian state and the determination of their youth to overcome challenges. This event, laid out by President Sisi with a great vision and a future vision. Our party was the first power to support and participate in this national dialogue, and we were keen to make it succeed once Mr. President invited to host it. And on behalf of the party in different areas throughout Egypt, we assure you that we will exert all efforts possible, that we will do all we can of cooperation and coordination and be as selfless as possible, away from personal and private interests, and serve the common interests regardless of ideological and party competition. We are looking forward to the outcomes of this national dialogue, which will be a main pillar to build the new republic that started by the President Sisi, a republic, the axis of which is consensus and building on common ground, and its approach is the priorities that concern the Egyptian citizen. This comes in a precise critical time that we face economic challenges imposed on us by the geopolitical changes the world is witnessing now, reflected on the Egyptian citizens and confuse the public economy. The citizen hopes now that the outcome of this dialogue assures the outcomes of this homeland. So the responsibility now on us as political power, thinkers, economists, we have a responsibility before God and before the people, and it imposes upon us all to have political wisdom and present all practical solutions that can be implemented and agree upon the priorities to establish the Egyptian state in a conflicted time. Stability in this time is a luxury. Coordinating with the government to develop the services provided to citizens All this is the reflection of the great vision of experts, intellectuals, in line with the state capability and resources to meet the aspiration of the Egyptian people. And we trust that all of us have the ability and determination to reach the common outcomes, to be a roadmap that eliminates the road for us for a bright future and the new republic laid out by the President Sisi, and that all Egyptians dream of. Best of luck to all of you. May peace be upon you.
ما زلنا نتابع كلمات
We
الأحزاب
are still
المختلفة في
listening
مصر،
to different
فالحوار
speeches
الوطني هو
from
خارطة
different
الطريق للعمل السياسي الفاعل.
parties in
الآن
Egypt.
مع كلمة
Now we
السيد
listen
سيد
to
عبد
the
العال
speech of
رئيس
Mr.
حزب
Said
التجمع.
Abdel Al, the head of the Tajamma party.
مساء الخير.
Good evening,
السيدات والسادة الجمع الكريم.
ladies and gentlemen,
يشرفني أن
esteemed
أشارككم
presence.
هذه اللحظة
I am
التاريخية
honored to participate
المتمثلة
with
في
you in this
افتتاح أولى
historical
جلسات
moment
الحوار
in
الوطني.
which we open the first
ونحن في
session
حزب
of the
التجمع نرى أن
national
الدعوة
dialogue.
للحوار
In the
التي
Tajamma
أطلقها الرئيس
party,
عبد
we
الفتاح
see this
السيسي
opportunity
تمثل منعطفا مهما في مسيرة
an
الدولة
important
المصرية،
critical
خاصة أن
pillar
تجارب
in
الحوار
the
الوطني
Egyptian
بشكل
state
عام ليست
course,
من الآليات المعتادة
because
لإدارة
it's
الدول
not
في كل
an
الأوقات.
unusual
ونرى أن الدعوة
mechanism
في
to
حد
manage
ذاتها
states
تعتبر
in
فارقة
all
بين
times.
مرحلتين.
This is a critical
مرحلة
moment
الصخب الثوري
between
والتي
two
بدأت
stages.
منذ ثورة
The
يناير
revolution that
2011
started in January 2011 and the revolution of June 30, and the challenges that preceded towards establishing the new republic and rebuilding Egypt as a democratic modern state. Ladies and gentlemen, the political dialogue, national dialogue, is the optimum way and an opportunity to reunite the June 30 and therefore I say before all of you that we all don't have, we're not responsible.
فإننا نحذر من محاولات
We
إفشاله
warn
ولا
the
يجب أن
attempts
نسمح بذلك
to
في جميع الأحوال.
fail this
وحزب التجمع
national
يجدد
dialogue.
أمامكم
The Tajamma party now renews its stance to support this national dialogue, and we are keen to make it succeed because it comes in a time when great challenges are on the table, and we are confident that all participants are keen on not having any obstacles to this dialogue.
الموروثة من عهود سابقة للخروج بأفضل النتائج والتوصيات التي تحقق طموحات وتطلعات الشعب المصري وأماله المعقودة على دعوة رئيس الجمهورية للحوار حول أولويات العمل الوطني خلال المرحلة الراهنة وصولا لمصر لأن تصبح دولة مدنية ديمقراطية حديثة بكل ما تحتويه الكلمات الثلاث من معاني وما يتضمنه من تفاصيل ومفردات وكما يليق بها أن تكون وسط عالم متغير يشهد إعادة تشكيل موازين القوى الدولية من
of
جديد.
the international powers once
سادة
more.
الحضور،
Ladies and gentlemen,
إن المشهد العام الآن يفرض مسؤولية مضاعفة على كل
current
الأطراف.
scene
ليس المشاركين في الحوار فقط، إنما
a double
الدولة أيضا وبكل
responsibility on all
مؤسساتها
parties.
الكل ملزم بالاستعداد الجاد.
Everyone is obliged
دعوة السيد
to
الرئيس
be
محددة وبوضوح.
seriously prepared.
حوار وطني، وهذا بالضبط ما كنا نراه في حزب
This is
التجمع.
a national
حوار
dialogue,
وطني وشامل، وليس حوار
an
سياسي
inclusive
مخبوي
one,
قاصر.
and
حوار
it does
يتسع
not
لجميع
exclude
مكونات المجتمع.
anyone.
أحزاب،
It
نقابات
is
عمالية
extensive
ومهنية،
to include
جمعيات
everyone,
ومراكز
parties,
أبحاث، هيئات
unions,
تدريس جامعات،
research centers,
وطلاب، شباب
universities,
ومرأة وفلاحين.
students, youth,
جميع
women,
الأطراف.
and farmers,
كما
all
سيجدد الأمل
parties.
لكل الأطراف في رؤية
It
بلدهم
renews the
كما
hopes for
يتمنون.
all parties to
ومثلما
see countries
علموا
as they
عندما
hope
صاروا
and
من
as
أجلها.
they aspire.
وقبل الختام لا يفوتني
And
شكر
before
الأمانة العامة
I
للحوار
conclude,
الوطني
I would like to extend my
والأمانة
gratitude
الفنية على
to
ما
the Board of
بذلوه
Trustees and the
وصل
Technical
بنا إلى
Secretariat
تلك اللحظة
for their
الحالية
efforts
التي
that
نشهد فيها افتتاح أولى
got
جلسات.
us to this moment
ولا
to
يفوتني
open the
أيضاً توجيه
first
الشكر
session of the National Dialogue.
لكل من
I
استجاب
also would like to
لدعوتنا
thank all who
بضرورة
accepted
الحوار
our
حول قضية
invitations
الثقافة
to speak
والهوية.
about
فما
culture
تحتاجه
and
مصر من
identity.
تطوير وتحديث
Egypt
شامل
now
لن
require
يستمر ولن يكتب له
inclusive
البقاء
development
بدون دور فكري وثقافي تقوم به أجهزة الدولة
with
المعنية
a cultural role,
مع منظمات
with the
المجتمع المدني
integration
الثقافية
and
والتنموية،
coordination with
إضافة
all
للدور السياسي
development
والثقافي
institutions in
للأحزاب
Egypt
السياسية
and
لبناء
also
ظهير
the
شعبي
political
مساند
and social
ومشارك
parties
في
to
عملية
build
التنمية والتحديث
a
وفقا
forefront
لبرنامج عمل وطني
standing
يمثل
for
التوافق
the
العام
development
بين كل أطراف هذا الحوار
process
الوطني
in
وأشكركم لحسن
coordination with
الاستماع.
all the parties of the National Dialogue. Thank you.
الحوار الوطني خطوة تاريخية.
The National Dialogue is a historical step in the Egyptian
هما
state.
جوهر نجاحي. نستمع الآن إلى كلمة
Now we
السيد
listen to a
اللواء
speech
أحمد
by
العوضي،
Mr. Ahmed Al-Awadi, member of Hamat Al-Watan Party and a representative in the parliament.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, most merciful, most gracious, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, Dr. Diya Rashwan, the General Coordinator, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed presence. I would like at the outset to
وبالنيابة عن حزب حماة الوطن حزب كل المصريين
I would like to extend my gratitude and praise to President Sisi, the President of the Republic, who paved the way for a serious and effective national dialogue that unites all political powers and political trends, that is a new stage and phase in the new Republic. It reunites all powers, everyone, no one excluded, to set the priorities of the national action and a roadmap to face the challenges politically, economically, and socially. We need the cooperation of everyone, and we open the door to the new republic to be in line with the aspiration of the political powers and the Egyptian people for quality of life. We also extend our gratitude to the National Academy for Training, headed by Dr. Rasha Raghib, for its extraordinary rules hosting all these arrangements and the well coordination of this dialogue and receiving all suggestions and recommendations and following non-biased approach. We also extend our gratitude to Dr. Liara Shwan, the General Coordinator of the National Dialogue, and Councillor Mahmoud Fawzi, the head of the technical support, and the Board of Trustees, and all the parties participating for their efforts to coordinate between different categories participating in the dialogue without interfering in the content to be discussed, and working appropriately for an effective dialogue appropriate for the aspiration of the Egyptian people, who awaits many results from you all, and I hope that we all live up to this responsibility. Since President Sisi launched this in the 26th of last April during the Egyptian family iftar, the party, my party here, was keen on providing experts in all fields to prepare the required visions for the future of this homeland. We held more than 70 sessions in different governorates to discuss the most important issues, to determine the needs and demands and translate these demands into solutions and recommendations which include all social, economic, and political needs in line with the aspiration of the Egyptian people to the new republic. Finally, thank you for listening, and I wish I wish you all the best of luck, and that the Egyptian people achieve what it suits them of development and prosperity. And I also extend my greetings to President Sisi, and I hope all your efforts succeed to accomplish what they are aimed for.
مستقبل زاهر وبإذن الله تعالى سنستمر بالعمل والإيمان جميعنا.
And we will keep all working, exerting everything in our power to achieve prosperity and progress for a better future.
ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين. صدق الله العظيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
A comprehensive vision that suggests untraditional solutions. The head of Masrin al-Ahrar parties will give his speech now. Ladies and gentlemen, please accept my greetings. We meet today in an Egyptian forum that reflects the new Egyptian state. The dialogue among all the political union and societal components. With the launch of this dialogue, which is a great unprecedented privilege, we extend our appreciation and gratitude to President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who invited to hold this national dialogue to include all new visions and ideas. Also extend my gratitude to the Board of Trustees and the Technical Secretariat and the National Academy for Training, and all the recommendations and suggestions and assistance in this important forum. The national dialogue is the first pillar for the national participation in the national action mechanisms reaching the new state, the new republic for Egypt that we dream of. The most important pillars of the new republic is effective participation among the people and creating common grounds for participation, even in case of disagreements, as long as there is no violence or blood included. We have too many responsibilities for the outcomes of this forum. We should put the interest of Egypt first, regardless of personal gains. The homeland remains and everybody dies. We should keep in mind the resources in the current situation and the current global situation. And we should be patient not to have competitions that are not fruitful or productive. Dr. Diya Rashwan, I think that the economic axis is a main axis here because it is the biggest concern for the Egyptian citizen currently. And I found that the economic axis has only one committee, one day in the 3 days a week meetings. I suggest that the economic axis be discussed 2 days a week so that the Egyptian people's thoughts be communicated finally to the president, and we should stress upon the investment and tourism areas. The Muslimin al-Ahrar parties, since we were invited, we were concerned to present the priorities, putting in mind the 3 axes, the challenges and objective solutions, and we recommended experts in every axis and committee and issue, and we are ready to contribute in any assignment by the committees or the panelists. And we are now preparing in operation room to follow up the outcome of the dialogue and contribute to market them globally by media platforms and translate the official statements that everybody knows that Egypt has a very strong will and determination to overcome all challenges and overcome all conspiracies by protected by our armed forces and police and the state and institutions. May Egypt live. Thank you very much.
بالعلم والعمل نصل معا إلى دعائم الجمهورية الجديدة. الآن إلى كلمة السيد طلعت خليل رئيس حزب المحافظين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تصويب بسيط بس. رئيس حزب المحافظين المهندس أكمل قرطام اللي هو بيحييكم جميعا وبيعتذر عن الحضور. بحيي جميع الحضور وبشكركم جميعا وبشكر القائمين على الحوار وخاصة الدكتور ضياء رشوان والمستشار محمود فوزي. ونتطلع أن يكون هذا الحوار بداية جادة للخروج بالبلاد من أزمتها السياسية والاقتصادية التي يستشعر بها جميع المواطنين. لماذا نحن ندخل الحوار؟ نؤمن بالحوار لأنه يفتح الطريق لتأسيس دولة ديمقراطية مدنية حديثة تصان فيها الحقوق والحريات، إطلاق عملية سياسية تقر الحق في التعددية والتنوع والانتقال السلمي للسلطة وفتح المجال العام، كذلك لقطع الطريق على خلق مناخ يؤدي إلى الفوضى والانفجار الشعبي ينتج عنه مزيد من الصراعات السياسية وتصل إلى حد الحروب الأهلية، وما يدور في المنطقة ليس بعيد عنا. هناك أزمة اقتصادية جعلت جميع المواطنين يعانون من ضيق الرزق وقلة الموارد، فإن الإصلاح الاقتصادي لن يتم إلا بإصلاح سياسي تكون معه مجالس نيابية منتخبة تمثل الشعب تمثيل حقيقي بعيداً عن الأجهزة الأمنية التي تأتي ببرلمانات لا تمثل الشعب المطحون الذي يعاني من أزمة اقتصادية كلنا يعلم بها. ونأمل من الحوار إطلاق سراح جميع المعتقلين على ذمة قضايا سياسية. وقد يقول البعض ليس لدينا معتقلين، لكن في الحقيقة هم معتقلين، لكن نحن أنا أستعجب أنه بيضاف للناس المعتقلة تهم على اعتبار أن هي ما حدش فاهم التهم دي جاية إزاي ورايحة فين وجاية منين. فإحنا شايفين أنه كل معتقل سياسي وعلى ذمة قضايا الرأي لابد من الإفراج عنه فوراً. والاستجابة إلى دعوة الحوار من أجل تحقيق إصلاح سياسي من دونه لا تتحقق نهضة حقيقية للمجتمع. ولعل بداية الإصلاح هو الاعتراف بالوظيفة الدستورية للأحزاب القائمة على التعددية، وهي السلطة المسؤولة عن التنمية السياسية، وتكون هناك قواسم مشتركة للتداول السلمي للسلطة وتحقيق الاستقرار في ظل عقد اجتماعي يضمن الفصل الكامل بين السلطات. بدون إصلاح سياسي حقيقي لن يحدث إصلاح اقتصادي. الأصل في هذا الحوار هو حوار سياسي سوف يترتب من خلاله ومن خلال الاستقرار السياسي استقرار اقتصادي. وأنا بحيي كلمة السيد الأستاذ الدكتور عمرو موسى وكلمة الأستاذ حسام بدراوي، لأنها تحمل كثير من الأوجه التي يتطلع إليها الشعب المصري في المرحلة القادمة. إن الحوار الدائر الآن لابد أن يكون بين سلطة ومعارضة، وهذا ما نأمن به في أحزاب الحركة المدنية. إن لم يكن هذا الحوار بين سلطة وبين معارضة تحمل كافة أوجه ما يتطلع إليه الشعب المصري، وإن لم يكن الحوار على قدر تطلعات الشعب المصري، فإن هذا الحوار لن يؤدي إلى النتائج المأمولة. النتائج المأمولة هي رضا المواطن. إن لم يستطيع هذا الحوار أن يجعل المواطن يشعر بالرضا، فإن هذا الحوار لن يكون له جدوى. نحن نأمل أن يكون الأصل في هذا الحوار هو المواطن المصري. وفي نهاية كلمتي، مصر وشعبها العظيم يستحق منا الكثير، وما تعانيه مصر الآن لا يليق بمكانة مصر. علينا من خلال هذا الحوار وضع مصر وشعبها في مكانتها الطبيعية. شكرا لحضراتكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
السيدات والسادة الحضور، الآن مع جلسة نقاشية يديرها المستشار محمود فوزي رئيس الأمانة الفنية للحوار الوطني مع مقرري المحاور الرئيسية الثلاث: السياسي والاقتصادي والمجتمعي.
السادة الحضور، برجاء الالتزام بالمقاعد، ستبدأ الجلسة الآن.
من السادة الحضور الالتزام بالمقاعد حتى نبدأ هذه الجلسة النقاشية الهامة.
شكرا جزيلا أستاذة إنجي. هذه الجلسة النقاشية مخصصة لتسليط الضوء على المحاور
This session will focus on the axis of the national dialogue, and we know this comprise economic, social, and political axis, and the goal is prioritize the political action for the current status. The organization the Board of Trustees agreed upon is that the dialogue follows the main axis, followed by subcommittees. The main axis will be discussed by 3 Egyptian figures who are respectable, and it's no secret that I have served with honor with 2 of them. They are our professors and friends, and I cannot say otherwise. My first question, of course, the rules here require that I introduce the panelists. Dr. Ahmed Jalal, the international financial expert and previous Minister of Finance. Dr. Khalid Abdelaziz, Minister of Youth and Sports. previously. My general questions for each of you.
عندما أطلق السيد الرئيس دعوته
When President launched the invitation for a national dialogue, what was your impression about this invitation that addressed all political powers, and what is your impression with the progress of work on this experiment? In the name of Allah, most merciful, most gracious, I have listened and benefited a lot from all the previous speakers. Answering Councillor Mahmoud's questions, the first time the President raised this matter was 2 months ago in Tushka. And then he announced it officially in the 26th of April. There were two meanings for me. The state institutions working was lacking something. If there was no progress needed, we weren't going to call for this dialogue. The president felt that Egypt was going through a phase where we should reconnect and react with those who are not linked with anymore. The other meaning is that we are preparing for a new stage of the Egyptian development, and he feels that in his way to do that, that he makes use of each opinion and vision in this aspect. Thank you. Dr. Ali is always proactive. He said everything I wanted to say, but even better. So I think I'm going to pass the mic to Dr. Khalid. I'm just joking. Let me be serious. Because I am an economist, we have extraordinary and permanent cases. Some things are temporary and some others are constant. Egypt has went through since 2013, since now this is an extraordinary phase, and this cannot be permanent. So it was necessary to transition from facing this extraordinary period where there is no stability, security, to a more sustainable phase where we can support building the state institutions that guarantee its existence in the future. It's a natural development, but I am fairly optimistic because this society deserves more. And I think that compiling opinions and visions will lead to better results than someone who only rules with one opinion or one vision. When Dr. Diya Rashwan identified the political dialogues that we witnessed historically, I remember in 2011 headed a national dialogue by Dr. Abdul Aziz Higazi, and I even participated in it. But the difference between those two dialogues, the circumstances then was not suitable for this type of dialogue. So I think this dialogue will be more beneficial and will have a greater impact because the way it was formed and how it includes all categories of the Egyptian people. So I don't think the product of this dialogue will be similar to the other one. Thank you. Thank you, consultant. Counselor, my words won't be so different. I have a very positive impression since the corona pandemic or the Ukrainian-Russian war and the changes internationally and regionally. These are actually new and unusual developments. The last pandemic that appeared in the world was the Spanish flu in the 1918 or 1919. So I think that changes in the past 3 or 4 years required making use of the opinions of many experts, academics, and different national powers. And from here it was launched the national dialogue. Thanks. My next question to Dr. Ali, and I think we can, through this session, to be an example of committing to the time limit. You are the coordinator of the political axis. You supervise many committees, and those committees include diversity between the political powers. How did you manage this diversity when you were setting the issues to be discussed in the political axis, and how was the atmosphere during these discussions? This is a very critical questions, but I will answer honestly. We have 5 sub-axes. I have 10 Egyptians in municipalities, parties, exercising political rights and parliament representation, human rights. They all have different opinions. Sometimes we witness difficult moments and huge differences. Maybe because someone used some concept or expression that has a different meaning for another colleague. But we were always patient and tolerant. The first sessions were difficult and we didn't find common grounds, but gradually we found common language to speak with. The most important thing when we were agreeing upon issues to discuss regarding human rights, we have 10 issues to be discussed in each area. But why are we discussing all of this? The political axis, for example, will have like 25 or 30 issues. What's more important than these issues that we want to discuss? What do you want to implement or do? We want a democratic civil state. When we regard or consider human rights, political parties, social work, cooperatives, how in each of these areas, how can you employ the human rights axis to establish the new republic, establish the civil democratic state? The other point is, I hope that we tackle it in all axes. When the president mentions arrange the national priorities, it doesn't mean that we are not working now with priorities. We have priorities, some of which we won't disagree upon, like encouraging foreign investment or the political party's life, and so on. We're not going to write new priorities. Then what is the problem here? The problem is the means that we seek to implement these goals through are not the best means. This is the part of the challenge here. We say encourage foreign investment, and I'm sorry, Dr. Ahmed, if I am exceeding or overcoming my access here. All these goals were implemented enough as to most of the parties here. How can we approach these priorities with new mindsets, with new action approaches to achieve these goals? What I understood from your speech here, when the idea changed, the approach changed, the method changed, and we could reach political consensus. We need acceptance and we need patience. Maybe I think I'm using a word that can be misunderstood. Patience. I think we should not think ill of one another. We should all agree on the goals and think ill of one another. The economic aspect is critical and hard. Economics is a science that has its assets, but there's also different approaches in economics, and each economics school has its pillars. So how the economic axis during this national dialogue can reach consensus on different issues that there are great deal of differences upon. How can the right wing and left wing agree together? You ask him easier questions and you ask me more different questions. Why do you do that? I think it's a common saying, and it's not true, that economists has always two different approaches and you should determine which is better for you, and this is not true. Let me answer the question that you asked Dr. Ali in the economic aspect, and I will mention a few more things. When I was appointed as a coordinator for the economic axis, I found that I have 8 topics on my hand: inflation, public debt, tourism, agriculture, industry, social justice, and of course, and public investment, private investment. If I told someone this list, they won't remember anything of it. I have a way of thinking to rearrange priorities, and I think all these topics are about 3 main topics. The first topic is the safe access through the economic crisis, the safe out through the economic crisis as a whole that we can discuss later. But when there is a fire in the house, the first thing you need is to put out this fire. Don't talk to me about something that can be achieved during the next 20 years. The second point is growth. We talk about agriculture, industry, investment. All you need to do is increase the growth rate, increase employment, and have some wealth to be able to distribute. The third point is social protection, to make sure that every Egyptian citizen has the equal opportunities. that we all start the race from the same point. We should focus on health and education in the social axis. The topics, I mentioned two things, that those two topics can be summarized, these 8 topics can be summarized in these 3 topics. Dr. Abdel Khaliq is even a more right or more left-wing follower more than I am. We agreed upon 80% of the suggestions and alternatives. If this relays any message, conveys any message, if you studied economics in a professional way, you would get that the space of agreement is fairly large. We agreed on the topics inside each committee, especially that I have 16 coordinators that deal with too many people. And there is great deal of diversity between these 16 coordinators. So I thought at first that they will disagree a lot and we are going to settle things down. But actually with reasoning and logic, listening and exchanging visions, they were really reasonable and wise, and there was great agreement between them. Our job wasn't to answer questions. Our job was to identify the questions that we are going to discuss. Each committee has a coordinator and an assistant who should not answer. It's not our job. What are we going to do next during the dialogue if we answer the questions right away? Each one who even had an answer kept it to be discussed today here in this forum. And we all agreed upon this logic, and I am very pleased with this elite of experts working on us on these 8 different committees. When concepts are unified and we all work on steady basis, it's easy to reach common results. Exactly. Also, we should be tolerant and patient and ready to hear and listen different visions. And we're not talking about ideology here. Just we are talking about the point, a topic like inflation, how are we going to tackle it? Either about importing inflation or the local inflation. When you talk about the exchange rate and the interest rate and so on and so forth. Also, the demand aspect. If you discuss things with people in this manner, you will reach consensus. Mr. Khalid, I want you to comment on the following. How was the Egyptian society dealing with this dialogue? In the social axis, it is different from the other 2 axes. Dr. Ali is an expert in politics, and Dr. Ahmed Galal is a financial expert and economist. So he knows everything about the economic axis. The social axis, on the other hand, has 6 committees: education, health, population, society cohesion, and youth. Different 6 axes and topics, and with very different fields. Expert in each field is entirely different from the other. So we started gradually to leave each expert in their field to state whatever they see or share their vision with us. And we let the coordinators and assistants just suggest the topics that need to be discussed and send them to the Board of Trustees, and it was for us very easy, and we were going to intervene or state our opinions. We saved that for the dialogue. We only identified the topics and themes to be discussed during the dialogue. This is how the sessions were managed. We're not here to state our opinions. We are only providing a transparent, free atmosphere for youth to state their visions. For the entire Egyptian people thought that it was too long and there is no dialogue. So they thought that we are not taking this seriously. But I saw the great deal of efforts that were being exerted to host this dialogue. Regulations and rules were laid out to host this dialogue professionally. The opening sessions come today to reflect all that. That the past year, great deal of efforts were exerted, and we need this time of preparation and organization to have an acceptable dialogue. I wanted to ask Dr. Ali that some people see that the national dialogue is going in slow steps. It's very slowly. What do you think about this? People should have different opinions. I'm not going to say that they are wrong who say that we are going slowly. But each dialogue has a context. And I will use some of what Dr. Dia said. He wanted to put different persons who hasn't been in a room together in several years, who didn't even have each other's phone numbers. So how could they even call each other? It was a not paved way. And we should realize also that these parties have certain wrong problems and issues with each other. So this dialogue is really unprecedented in terms of fair and just balance among different political trends. In other words, there is no certain trend here dominating the dialogue, and this is a great advantage, that it paves the way and gives the opportunity to all different opinions. And we don't have votes in dialogue committees. There is no minority and majority. Any discussion is reassuring. Everyone is reassured when they are expressing their opinion. Every opinion will be taken into consideration, and this gives confidence. The political parties are comprised of humans who have lack of confidence, doubt, and this has reasons. A large part of our work was building confidence between parties and laying out pillars that give all parties the reassurance that they need, that this dialogue will accommodate everyone. I shall praise that the national responsibility on the majority of the participants, and I would like also to praise my friend Farid Zahran, who was that he was really reluctant, as objectively he felt that his demands were not met, but his national responsibility towards his country and towards his party and the political current that he stands for made him come and made him attend here.
شكرا. يعني هي سؤال صعب تاني وبعدها كده.
Another difficult question. The economy topics has this nature. I cannot speak of social justice, and I'm speaking away from the tax policies, and I cannot speak about supply and not speak about demand. We should go through the committees of the economic axis, especially that it stands for the biggest number of committees. How can you overcome this confusion? So you do the mistake and we take the fallout? This is merely injustice. There is confusion between different economy topics. For instance, education. It is a very important topic to achieve equal opportunities and social justice. But to have good education, it cannot be carried out without money. Then the Minister of Finance will complain. And this applies to a set of several topics. So you're right about that. What is good here is economy is like medicine. There is a dentist, eye doctor, cardiologist who all study medicine and then go to different specialization. And this is exactly the committees. You discuss every topic in a different committee, and then comes my role. The overall report contains the suggestions and recommendations from the specialized committees and how they can put together not to have this discrepancy. So this is possible. It's better to deal with the matter first partly, but to compile everything together, we need filtering from a different kind, and I think we can carry this out, and we are sure of it. Dr. Khalid, the citizens of the citizens' concern is a little different than the elite's concerns. How about engaging citizens in setting the solutions in the social axis? What I have witnessed in the discussions is that family and population issues there were many concerns raised by different letters sent to the dialogue administration. There was a large number of topics that is important to the Egyptian family and others to the elite. But I think that there are other aspects that help in this on this level. Art and drama extensively go into details with these topics. When they see the drama and art take part in extensively elaborating these issues and their solutions. So many people are fairly aware about the challenges which will facilitate showcasing these issues elaborately. And the Board of Trustees is aware of this, and when it's communicated to the political leadership, it will gain the concern and attention of the political leadership. Thank you. I can speak with you. This is a very fruitful conversation. I found out today that Councillor Mahmoud Fawzi is multi-talented. Sir, I'm not. I am the Supreme Council of the Media Committee. Especially the coordinators, I learn of them all. They have great deal of wisdom and knowledge. We were extremely lucky to have you all here today. I benefited a lot from this interesting panel. Dr. Ahmed Bigalil, thank you very much. Muhandas Khalid Abdelaziz, thank you very much. And now we will take a 30-minute break to reconvene once more. Thank you very much.